Welcome friends and neighbors to Fair Oaks Ranch Homeowners Association's 50th anniversary celebration. I'm Rene Gallegos, president of FORHA. We're so happy to see you here. FORHA was created by Ralph Fair Jr., Bob Weiss, and Don Smith on September 5th, 1975. The association's purpose was to provide guidance and maintain value to what would become a thriving city. It is often stated in the beginning was FORHA. Truly, FORHA was one of many firsts for Fair Oaks Ranch. Today, we move forward into the future with excitement. We welcome new friends, returning children, and grandchildren to the beautifully maintained parks and trails full of the natural wonder that is the Texas Hill Country. We are grateful to Ralph Fair Jr., with foresight and love of the land, gifted these areas for members to preserve and enjoy. Thank you for joining us to celebrate this 50th anniversary. The videos and photos in the presentation are to remind us where we started and how we became the Fair Oaks Ranch of today. Volunteerism has been a key element in building FORHA and our city. I invite you to become a volunteer and participate with those who encourage a community that cares for family and friends. With each voice, a very special thanks to the board members of Fair Oaks Ranch Homeowners Association, FORHA office staff, and the Communications Committee, along with 90 volunteers serving us today. Without their time and efforts, this event, which brought together 600 attendees, would not have been possible. Special thanks to our amazing sponsors for helping make this celebration a great success. Our gold sponsor is GVTC Next. Our silver sponsors are Monique Borderline Realty, Ford of Bernie, Front Runner, and Diane Sinclair of Great Clips. Our bronze sponsors are Fair Oaks Emergency Room, Fair Oaks Financial, Frost Bank, Mission Golf Cart, 360 Property Inspections, C-Mark Counseling Services, and Sunflower Realty. Finally, thank you also for our friends of FORHA, Bricks and Minifig Store for their gift basket, Jane and Tuffy Burton, Corky and Jack Chrissy, Kathy and Bill Fusco, Lauren and Mark Johnson, Deanna and Gary Menezes, Julianne McCarthy, Susie and Doug Richardson and family, Donna Youngglove, and Nationwide Pennant and Flags. Thank you, everyone.
Well, hi, I'm Gary Menezes.
Well, I'm Linda Tom, and I've moved here in '83. I've been here 42 years.
I'm Bob Williamson, and this is my wife, Ellen.
I'm Greg Maxton. I currently serve as the mayor for the city of Fair Oaks Ranch.
My name is John Weir.
I'm Rita Wheeler. I am a longtime resident of Fair Oaks.
I am Suzanne Fair Richardson.
I'm Cheryl Delarenko.
And I'm her husband, David Delarenko.
I'm Mary Hutton. I've been here since 1976.
I'm Leslie Hutton, and I've been with her every step of the way.
We have lived here for 17 years this summer. So we built our home 17 years ago.
We moved into Fair Oaks in 1985.
I came from San Antonio in 1975.
We came from the south side of San Antonio. We were born and raised and went to Ferndale High School together. We graduated and married, and been married now 63 years this year.
We found Fair Oaks because someone I worked with had played golf out here and told us about it. And we came out and found the garden homes, and it worked for us.
Enjoyed living in this community. I think it's a great community. We moved here a little over 12 years ago. I'd been serving in the military, and we'd lived all over the United States. My wife and I are originally from Texas. We knew we wanted to move back to Texas. We just didn't know where. And so I was assigned to Fort Sam. We lived on for Fort Sam for 2 years, and then decided it was time to find our forever home. First home we ever bought. And we ended up here in Fair Oaks Ranch. And what a blessing it was for us in our first home, but also to find a long-term area where we could live. And I don't know that we could have ever selected anything better than what we got.
We came up to look at the property advertised in a newspaper clipping for Fair Oaks Ranch. And we thought that we might want to live here, but we had a daughter. And I thought, this is too rural and too lonely for somebody who is just, I think, 10 years old. So we decided to look in San Antonio, and we did that. But we had always looked at Fair Oaks Ranch, and 10 years later, when we had an opportunity, we came out and took up residence.
And we came out, and Fair Oaks Ranch is one of the places we talked about, so we looked here and found a lot in Deer Meadow Estates that we liked, and we ended up buying the lot and building a house on it, and we really thought it was very unique.
We asked the real estate agent that we really wanted a place where our kids could swim and play golf and play tennis and have a little room if we could, because we lived mostly in close neighborhoods over the years. So then we found Fair Oaks, and that was home.
1985, when we moved into Raintree Woods, we had looked around for quite a while. As a matter of fact, we even bought property across the road in Wynwood, but it was our last look-see for making sure that we were going to do the right thing before we built a house over there. And we went to this house in Raintree Woods, and that was it. No questions asked. I said to Lee, let's make an offer. And we did.
The first thing I mentioned earlier, the fact that we can walk any place we want in Raintree and Fair Oaks. We go up to, what's his name? Vestal? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember him because my late wife used to help him a lot. He did a lot of landscaping, correct?
Yeah.
And we go up to that park with our dog sometimes, which is fun. Yeah. Can we go out to Fair Oaks? He took us here. We saw a house. It happened to be in Raintree Woods. Bought it. Went back home, and this realtor that from USA called. Oh, blah blah blah. And I said, we bought a house. Which one? I told her the address. Oh, the blue one? I said, yeah, that's it. Oh, and that's how we got here. But
it's not blue anymore.
No.
The question you're asking is a little bit more involved than you might be aware of. We first purchased our property in, I think it was November of 1984. But they couldn't plat and record the property for a few months, so we couldn't even close on the property till about April of 1985. But that didn't stop my wife and I. We were newlyweds, so I had a pop-up camper and I pulled it out here, and we started clearing the land in November. So informally, we kind of moved in here in November of 1984. And we
didn't stay in the camper. We just used it for the daytime.
I just love that. I think that is precious.
Well, actually, we have to stay a few nights overnight because our eyes had swollen shut from the poison ivy and the poison oak, and we had no power tools, so we used pickaxes, shovels, pruning shears, a hand bow saw. It took us 3 years to clear that land, but that was good because we were broke at that time. I just started a new job with Federal Civil Service, and so it kept us focused on what we were doing, and you know, it was a good experience for both of us. And my wife had never done any type of manual labor before. We cleared out that first day a little 5-foot spot around that big oak tree in the back, and at the end of the day, my wife comes up. She says, "Dave, I can't stop shaking my hands." I said, "Don't worry. You'll get used to it." At the end of 3 years, she was in pretty good shape. But
we go to the club or anything that's close by. But I remember how I found this place, because I had, being in the Army, they sent me here every summer since '86 to go
here or over there?
No, they sent me to San Antonio to be a bandmaster clinic. And I liked it so much, I brought my wife one year, and we finally decided we were going to move here. And we had oh, come on, help me, USAA, and they have a realty department. So they gave us an agent, Fortunately, she lived here.
Mm-hmm.
She
Oh, I can
lived in
see
Fair
her.
Oaks Ranch.
I can see her.
And she took us out here. We loved it.
We wanted to move north because he is a hunter and he's always hunted Sister Dale, and we came every winter spending the winters. So when our children got a little older, we decided we wanted the hill country.
Yeah.
So I'm a realtor, and I drove out here this road one day, and we saw this area, and we ran into Nick Lewandowski
Yeah.
and Don Smith. We met the
Yeah.
two of them, and they showed us the property, and we were ready. We said, we want 20 acres from this road, over and to that back road. We'll take that whole
whole
section.
area.
So we bought that 20 acres. We paid $1,100 an acre.
Wow.
And we've been here ever since.
There are very few places you can go where the animals are so tame they walk right up to you, including the deer. And we've had a lot of fun doing that. When our kids were young, we had a swimming pool and some of them didn't, so we had grandchildren birthday parties at our place. And the real big attraction for a lot of the friends they invited was many of them had never seen a deer up close before.
My husband and I were looking around in San Antonio, and we weren't finding anything that I was happy with. So we're having brunch with my sister on a Sunday, and she says, "Have you seen Fair Oaks Ranch?" And I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." Well, our realtor thought it was too far out. Remember, it used to be too far out.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we called her and said that we found the place we want to live. I knew exactly where I wanted to live after that. It was that dramatic. I called it, I was in a real estate brokerage for a long time. It's the perfect package. It has so much to offer.
What really attracted us was what was in Fair Oaks Ranch. And I can't even say I really knew what Fair Oaks Ranch was at the time. We just knew that this is where we wanted to live.
Ralphford Jr. is my dad, and he passed away a little over a year ago. I think what people say most about him is how generous he was. I don't think he had, he was always super kind to people. He was always very conscientious about how you treated people. And he taught us that too, So we treated everybody pretty much the same. We treated people with the most respect that we knew how. And I think that was good upbringing. He was very involved. In his latter years, he became a Christian at the age of 50. And when he died at 90, he died having been, I think, a deacon for like 30 years at First Baptist Church. He had started a ministry and built at least 2 orphanages, one in Costa Rica, one in Peru.
It had so much to do with Mr. Fair and Bob Wise and Don Smith. And they were all superb. So I just enjoy living here because what's not to like?
And, giving credit where it's due, my hat really goes out to people like Ralph Fair Jr. and Bob Weiss, who had a lot to do with the development of the city. One time in a conversation with Bob Weiss, I told him, I said, "You guys were geniuses, Bob." And he said, No, we just got lucky. He's very humble. I don't believe that. They really were very smart in how they did this. And it took a special group of people and a special set of circumstances to make a city develop the way Fair Oaks Ranch has. And I think that's what's given it the character, and I think that's what draws people here.
But your father started out here. Your father could have stayed out here by himself and kept it all for himself, but he didn't do that.
He was just very generous, very kind. He loved Fair Oaks. He always loved Fair Oaks. And I think when he passed, we've had many discussions where he would say that he thinks his mother would be proud of him and the work that he's done. So that makes you happy.
That's one of the reasons. Another reason why we moved to Fair Oaks, when we came out here, I noticed that They didn't build a grid city and they didn't build high density populations. This wasn't profit motive. This was respect for the land, respect for the animals. This was trying to make the most out of what he had and sharing it with as many people as he could without destroying that at the same time. You've got these nice winding streets, you know, he preserved as much as he could, him and Don Smith, who was developing the land at the time. I mean, they could have cashed out. They could have lined their pockets and lived a nice life, but they didn't do that, and they got involved and they created something that's absolutely beautiful, that's very rare, unfortunately, in today's world. And that's why I'm doing the video, so people know people like your father and Bob Weiss, and they know who did this. It was a whole group of people, but your father started that whole process.
Well, you know, I really do think that the development of the ranch was a very fortuitous, although risky, endeavor. I do know that they had tried to sell the ranch as a whole because it was something that my dad wasn't. He wasn't a rancher. He's a different kind of person, and so having just holding property was a lot. You know, he didn't want to do it, and so when I guess he met the right individuals, and they posed the idea to him, he decided to go for it, and he was able to fund all the startup money on his own, you know, and that worked really well. And now it took a while to get rolling. You know, nothing just sort of springs out successfully.
Right.
But it did well, and I think a lot of people have said that it's unique because, you know, of the natural way it evolved, section by section, and that the homes and the roads were built with sensitivity to the land and the usage by people.
Bob is the one who got it done. A lot of people give credit to Boots Gobbets, the first mayor. Mm-hmm. It was Bob that was doing all the legwork. Boots just said, you're assigned to this, you're assigned to that, but Bob's the one who did it. And he took the ball and he carried it, and he never asked for any credit. And I know he worked a lot.
He's a very humble person.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
I had family back east, that's where I'm from, and I don't know how it started, but one of my cousins said, Jim got married. He married the mayor of San Antonio. I said, no.
Just about.
I might still have it.
Close, but.
Yeah.
I wonder if people really realize that they can make an impact. That volunteering at the city, I mean, it's serious business. When you're volunteering to be on the Planning and Zoning Commission, volunteering to be a part of our Traffic Safety Advisory Committee, I mean, you're making recommendations or making decisions that truly impact the future of Fair Oaks Ranch. And I think those that volunteer realize that and understand that I am making an impact.
Well, my first civic involvement in Fair Oaks Ranch was picking up trash on Ralph Fair Road as part of Adopt a Highway, and I'm still doing that. And then later on, I got involved in joining the city council and serving as the mayor for 5 years.
I was on Fair Oaks North, city of Fair Oaks North. I was mayor pro tem. Don King was the mayor, and I was mayor pro tem. And Boots was the mayor. I'm not sure who was the pro tem over here for South.
The city started a Transportation Safety Advisory Committee.
Yes.
So I volunteered for that, got selected for that by the council, and then I got selected by the board to be the chairman of that. So I'm on that now. And so we've had some activity in the last year doing some things around the city with speed limits and signs and studies and all. So that was good.
I started in '98. Today it's 2025 and I am still here. And I started as the city secretary.
Wow.
And as the city secretary, it's an extremely important role because through state law, you are the records management officer, which means you are the keeper of the records, and you're the election administrator, which you run all of the city elections. And one of the other important functions of a city secretary is being the public information officer.
Oh, I was on the board for 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was in charge of all the restriction committees. So, yeah, it was funny because back then you didn't have that many people who really wanted to volunteer a lot. And there was another woman named Delek Park who was here for 14 years. She served on FORHA. And so Delek and I got together and we put forth term limits in hopes that we'd get out of it. We did so much in it. And fast forward all these years, I'm now the restrictions chair in our subdivision.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the city goes, I was on the Capital Improvements Advisory Board or Advisory Committee. I think it was 2016 to 2020. I have it written down, but a long time. I got a clock when I left. but it was, and that goes sort of back to having seen sort of from the inside how things have developed.
Yeah.
And it gives me great pleasure because this is still the best place to live.
So,
Yeah.
but it was good. Met a lot of the folks involved, and of course meeting Boots back then and working with him for a short while, and all the old council and the council that I was on for all that time. It's good, and the relationships. It's been good. Enjoyed it.
Actually, I did serve on the FORHA board for almost 3 years before I served on city council. And I was kind of recruited to do a staffing study for them. They wanted an outside party. After I did that, they came back and approached me with the idea of joining the board, so I went ahead and joined the board. And we got to do a lot of interesting projects. And we worked with the engineers that FORHA had engaged to do the design work. One of the interesting things we mentioned to them we would like to do is try to make sure the bridge was high enough that we could actually run a horseback trail under the bridge and hopefully connect to an easement on the other side to be able to give access to the arbors, which we had just recently gotten a 75-acre nature preserve for. So they did. In fact, the next time we met, the engineers showed me a drawing of someone actually riding a horse under the drawing of the bridge. One of the things that I learned, particularly during the time I was serving as mayor on the council, I became a very firm believer that the difference between a good city and a great city is really the quality of your volunteers that you're able to develop within the city, because that's what makes a difference in a city, because that's what keeps a city vibrant, and it's what allows you to make improvements in the city. You can't do everything just by throwing money at it, and I think we've learned that, and I think that's been what's really kept our community special, including people that play the roles on our various commissions and boards and city council and serving as mayor. Everybody that does this stuff is a volunteer at Fair Oaks Ranch. We don't pay any of them.
Boots Gibbons called me one time and said that he'd like to have somebody be a treasurer. I said, a treasurer? You mean like bank accounts and stuff? I said, I can't even balance my checkbook. He said, Rita's an accountant. He said, she'll help you. I said, what do I have to do? He said, you have to sign all checks every week. I said, well, I could do that. So I stopped by here once a week, sign all the checks, and the Rita would then do the audit, and that was my contribution. And then in Raintree Woods, I was the security officer for several years. That was interesting.
Remember well, you weren't here, but we had that big fire. Remember?
Okay.
And I didn't even know Cheryl then, but she told me she went over to the school and got all the kids over to City Hall. And then from there, they got buses to bus them home.
Yeah.
Because when she was the mayor, she would leave at 8:30 in the morning and come home at 5. and we were married in 12, right? And you were the mayor then, because I remember. Yeah, I met her at the election day.
16.
Yeah.
You met her on
Yeah,
election
yeah.
day when she
And she
became
taught me I
mayor?
had just lost my wife. And,
No. Well,
Yeah.
we were doing a thing where we had to talk to people. So something, I forget what I was doing, but I know I had to be there and talk to people and what have you. He pops up.
And Jim shows up.
And I showed up to vote. It was election day, and I had lost my wife maybe not even a year ago. And I'll never forget, she said, "This is going to be the hardest thing you ever have to go through," because she went through it in 02. And I remember when we got married, she would leave at 8:30 in the morning, because I was still working, I was still teaching. And she'd get home at 5, and I'd say, "Oh, good. You know what I planned tonight? We're going to go." "I can't. I have a meeting." "What about tomorrow?" "I have a meeting tomorrow and Thursday, but Wednesday's good."
Lots of meetings.
There's nothing that I didn't like or didn't handle or didn't think it was appropriate.
Right.
I think it was either 4 or 5 years at FORHA, and then city council for 4 or 5 years.
10.
And
10.
then
10.
Well, okay. And then the mayor for 6 years. So she did a lot of
They told me how to do
volunteer work.
Yeah.
Did it well.
Yeah. Thank you for your service.
And I think she did it so well, I feel, because she went through, as we say in the military, she went through the ranks.
Yes.
She learned so much in FORHA. She learned so much as a city council. And then when she moved into I know how that works.
Things are moving though.
I always tell my family and my kids, it's awesome that you have a great idea, but if you don't execute on that, that's all it is.
Good point.
It's just a great idea. And then a day turns into a week turns into a month, and 3 years later, you're like, maybe I should have volunteered. That probably would have been a great idea. So I always try to encourage my family to try new things. It sounds simple, but I go, always try to involve yourself in something. You realize you're going to go, it's not your favorite thing. You'd rather be doing something else. But if you give yourself a chance, you actually may meet individuals that you're pleasingly surprised that you're glad you went. And you're like, it's an hour, I'm only going to be there 15 minutes. That's 15, that's it, that's my max. So at least that little step gets you in there, you get comfortable, and you're like, oh, they're just like me.
You look back on it, and I do value what we have as part of our community, and believe that providing some input, whatever it is that I could do to help maintain this, I think it's important, and to do my part. So yes. I've enjoyed my time as mayor. I've enjoyed the time serving on the council, serving the city. I believe we've made great progress. Some of the things that we've talked about, maintaining the character, really, safety and security is my #1 priority. And we continue to stay in the top 1% of the safest cities in Texas. Another reason people move here. But second is maintain that character, what keeps Fair Oaks Ranch, Fair Oaks Ranch. It's our oak trees, it's the people, it's not mass development. It's providing those opportunities of what families need here. And great point that you made is that I think when we moved here a little over 12 years ago, I bet the median age was 55, maybe a little higher. And it has come way down, maybe into the lower 40s now, with all the families that have moved in here. And I just think it's great.
Everybody was really good at what they did, which really served them well. I mean, we had a lot of people who'd done really good things.
Yeah.
And they came and they volunteered. Now that's the catch now, is to get people interested in volunteering. You could never hire them. You couldn't afford it.
You couldn't
at any price.
In those days, we were building trails.
Building the trails.
Oh yeah,
wow.
they hardly existed.
Okay.
There had been a couple of attempts to build trails, but they were really not usable for horses, and the purpose was to make them horseable.
Horseable,
If you
yes.
call it that.
Sure.
So we built about 4 different trails, completed them and made them usable. And the last one was one that we had a lot of people wanting to ride over to the club to go play golf.
I think what caught me by surprise the most was the volunteerism. And that is why Boots was always operating on a lean staff. He was all about volunteerism.
Yeah.
And when the city became a city, it was volunteers. It was 3 men. It was Boots Gobbets, Don King, and General Herring.
Yeah.
They volunteered a lot of time for us to become a city.
Can you imagine?
Yes. So then that was interesting working with volunteers.
Yeah.
It was enlightening. It was really interesting, and the many events and celebrations and all the operations that needed to get done, both FORHA and the city, we could rely on each other's volunteers. I remember running a city election and not having to pay for election workers because I had so many volunteers willing to help run the election.
To just help.
Work those 12-hour days free.
Good night.
Yes, it was nice to see that the city had the spirit of, we love our city, we want it to be successful, what can we do?
What can we do? Oh
and
my
then how do we
gosh.
make it succeed in the future for our children?
Yeah.
These are people that volunteered their time. They didn't get paid to run a city operation. You know, before then, it was Fair Oaks Ranch Homeowners Association, which, you know, kind of developed. You had to have some organization, but definitely at some point got incorporated as a city. Up until a point that, I mean, we needed professionals to help us with the extensive problems or challenges that we faced. But what just amazes me is the number of volunteers, even today, that will stand up to serve the city. We have multiple boards, committees, and commissions, and we look each year for additional volunteers, and we've already got enough this year who have signed up to meet all the vacancies that we have.
And the changes are
That's
wonderful,
good.
you know,
Yeah.
Our kids.
because we love community, we love all the people, we love living right across from the park. I mean, it's just gotten better and better over the years.
Well, I think what I love best is the sense of community. I think it's unusual. Whether you're going to the city or the police department or just your neighborhood, it's the community that Fair Oaks has. And I think it was created because part of it originated back when we had our volunteers, because we had an extraordinary subset of volunteers, executives from the different companies and people that had time on their hand and willing to give it, and the volunteerism. And I like to volunteer, so it works for me. So that sense is great. And I love the wildlife, and I love the trees and the view. I still like the view from my kitchen.
I think probably for us, for Dee Dee and me, it's really been the opportunity to do some serious community service. So we've done a variety of things other than picking up trash on Ralph Fair Road, but I've gotten involved with the Rotary Club, and that's been a good group to engage with. And Dee Dee has stayed very active with FORHA, actually, and has helped stage a number of events. And she's assembled a very talented team of mostly ladies, I think maybe all ladies, in her communication group, and they've put together some wonderful events that have really driven a lot of things. So I still enjoy that. That's a big part of what we do. And
Of your life here.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it's great, and we've really kind of worked pretty seriously trying to bring some younger people into both city government and to FORHA's work and the volunteer work in general. When I joined the council, we were, let's just say we were more mature. And now we've got actually have some young people that are still working and raising families on the council, which is, I think, a great idea.
So we are a family community, I think, you know, where it's geared towards family, and that's the best part about it.
Well, just growing, with my son growing up here, he was 2. So when we first moved here, we'd get in the car at night, put him in the baby seat and drive around Fair Oaks. And it was just country at the time in '83. Country and horses and donkeys, and you see an armadillo or squirrel. I love the wildlife.
Yeah.
That's great. And this deer still come in on the fairways of my yard. So I love that.
Not only with myself and my wife, but the really strong relationships that we have with our neighbors, which is another great thing about Fair Oaks Ranch Homeowners Association is we know a lot of our neighbors. And it's just such a great community to where we feel comfortable, to where when I grew up, when I was younger, we rarely felt unsafe, right? Here within Fair Oaks Ranch, just the comfort of coming home and knowing our neighbors watch out for each other and we watch out for our neighbors, we feel so safe here. And not to mention our police department. We have our own dedicated police department here, which works great with the community.
It's still quiet around here, at least where we are. You don't hear a bunch of traffic. You don't hear, you know, you can sit out on your deck and it's peaceful and it's quiet.
We're one of the safest cities in Texas. We've been in the top 1% of the safest cities in Texas for I don't know how many years now. It's a safe place to live. We've got a great school district. You see a lot of families that are moving here because of that. We have a country club that's centrally located that provides recreational opportunity and fitness opportunities, not only for people, but they're for their kids, also for families. It brings people together. We talked about the wildlife. I mean, we have wildlife that lives among us here and is respected and treated that way. I mean, it's just so unique in what you would find in character, in people, in quality. I just don't know why you'd want to live anywhere else.
Yay! You've got an ice cream place here and a coffee place down here. What more could you want? And I just love them now, and they really are busy too.
I like what it's happened. And I don't think it's too much to say that when I go from one area to another, it gives me true pleasure, the way it's been run and our life here.
You know, 2 of my boys live in Fair Oaks.
Yeah.
So we're looking at 3 generations of in Fair Oaks.
How does that enrich your daily lives?
Tremendously, because
my grandchildren so close that I've been able to be more of a part of their lives, not intrusively. I've let them do it on their when needed, but they know that I've always been there. And of course, it's been wonderful not to be on an airplane having to go see my children and grandchildren. I feel so blessed to be able to. And then with Ellen and Edward, Wright and Bernie. I mean, all of our kids are here, all of our grandchildren are here.
And great-grandchildren.
Great-grandchildren are here. So, I mean, can't have it any better than that.
We enjoy it here quite a bit. Her sister, only lives a couple of miles away from us, and the niece is only about 5 miles or so away on Almond Road now, and so it works out good.
Can walk up to the club, no problem.
Yeah.
And the city's run so well. I mean,
you don't have to worry.
No, you don't. It's worry-free. Maybe that's a good part of it.
Yeah.
And when people come to visit, they're just amazed that we've kept it like we have.
And having all the trees, and every time we kind of cut down Hansel from the Parkway and go down to our house, and just as you reach that pinnacle, it's just trees, and
Well,
Love
that and
it.
the wildlife. You know,
Yeah.
we have an ordinance, you can't feed the deer. She's going to get the chair.
No,
I'm
I'm
telling
not.
you, they climb our steps. They look in the windows.
They antagonize
They're looking
me.
for they're looking for food every day. But we've had like 5 babies born. We've had 5 babies born on our property this year, but that just makes it special to us.
Yeah.
I mean, come put the handcuffs on us, that's fine. Yeah.
That's one of the best things about being in Fair Oaks are the stars, or it used to be in particular, before all the lights in the backyards and all.
Right.
But just to go out at night and just look up and see the beautiful stars.
I can't tell you how many people I've run into where I met, you know, an individual. And then through time, you realize that, well, their kids live here too. And their kids are in their 40s and 50s, and they're raising their family here too. And in some cases, those grandkids have now reached the age of, 25, 30, and they're moving to houses within Fair Oaks Ranch. And you start to make the connections between it. And I've met several family groups that are like that. Well, I've moved my parents here. My parents live here now in Fair Oaks Ranch too.
Well, that certainly was the reason that we came and all, but I have enjoyed tremendously the time that I've spent doing the things that I summarized before. I retired from the Air Force after 20 years, and then I was 23 years with EDS in Northrop Grumman, and retired in 05. But coming here to keep occupied and do things, but I really enjoy it. And the interaction, I'll say again, the interactions with the people that I know and have met over the years here, that and it's good to stay, and I find good to stay involved with some of the city items, because at least with my previous involvement, current involvement, I kind of know some of the background of things and the people that are involved, knowing the staff now and all, so it's a good feeling.
Above and beyond anything, it's the people that live here that really make a difference in what we have here as part of our community. I think they're brought here by the character of what we have as part of the city, and those combine together.
Well, Fair Oaks is certainly organized for people to have a healthy life. We have that wonderful golf course, 2 of them.
Yeah.
A swimming pool.
Yeah. And when we
trails.
first moved here, we joined the tennis club, and then later on we joined the golf. And we've been golf members ever since. And Rita plays golf with several of her women groups.
Yeah.
And this is a great place to live and be a member of society.
It's a beautiful place, and I think it's better than living in Bernie, and it's close enough to San Antonio that it's in a very good position. So I find it a very nice place.
Yeah, I love all the deer. We're not supposed to feed the deer, but sometimes I do that because we don't use the garbage disposal. We just, if we have watermelon rinds or cantaloupe rinds or vegetables left over, we just give it to the deer.
As I have noticed in the past 5-6 years since I've been here, many of the children that grew up here are coming back.
Are you serious? Yeah.
Yes, I have noticed
I knew mine
that.
did, but I didn't
noticed.
expect it, right?
Yes. I know many of the moms and dads because they volunteered or they worked for me or going to celebrations, events at FORHA. I got to know people. And when somebody comes in and registers and the name sounds familiar, I say, oh, are you related to somebody? Yes, that's my mom and dad. Or yes, that's my uncle. They have come here to live, and when I ask them about it, they're like, oh no, I grew up here as a child and I want my children to have the same.
It's wonderful to see people that jog up and down the highway, and people that drive their cars are very courteous and very conscious of people in the baby carts, children on their bicycles and tricycles, and runners and walkers. And people are very courteous. And this was a beautiful place to live.
You drive around the city and you see kids on bikes with fishing poles, and you just go, wow, that's kind of the area that I grew up in, which was much different than this. But kids out doing kids things and heading to the fishing hole, I just think it's great.
Like I said, you're someday going to have to account for that life. And I can say, well, the world might not be a better place, but at least my little part of the world, I tried, and I think I succeeded in making it a better place.
Yeah, it was interesting how I got involved with FORHA. I was up at the driving range, and Bob Herring was up there, and we started talking, and he asked me if I thought my husband might be interested in getting on the board for FORHA, and I looked at him and I said, no, absolutely not, but I'm interested. And that's how I got started.
Oh, wow.
So,
and how long did you spend on FORHA?
Oh, I was on the board a couple of years, and then when we formed the city, Boots and Bob Herring came over, the first two presidents.
Yeah.
They came over to the city and ran it, and they left me running FORHA. So I was the president. I was the third president of FORHA.
Oh my goodness, that is really neat. And so did you just do that for one term, or?
Oh yeah, just one term.
And I've always loved to be involved and just really make an impact in the community. So I've always had really great neighbors where we live, and they were always part of the homeowners association. So I specifically live in Deer Meadow Estates. So I was involved briefly with the Deer Meadow Estates Homeowners Association. And then a very good colleague of mine was president at the time in FORHA, in Fair Oaks Ranch Homeowners Association, and she said that they would love to bring on new members, and she really needed some individuals to help her make the board stronger. So she reached out to me, a former president of FORHA, and yeah, I was excited to do that.
I was very busy. As a matter of fact, I volunteered for FORHA, and 5 years of my time here at FORHA, I was president of FORHA, and prior to that, I was 3 more years with FORHA before I became president.
Well, I was on the board along the way.
Of FORHA or the
city? FORHA. I was on the board, and then, of course, Norman Vestal and I spent time talking about the vision of the park.
I love the improvements that have happened at both the parks.
Right.
When my grandchildren, because I have 2 grandchildren now, my oldest daughter has 2 children. They were stationed overseas. They just recently moved back. They're in Cibolo, Texas at Randolph Air Force Base. So we're an hour away. But when they come, we always hit the parks.
Yeah.
We either go to the one in DME or the one on Pimlico, and just reminiscent of when, their mother was young.
Yeah, their parents.
So we have lots of fun. So I think the improvements are great. The trails, I really love the trails. I think it's great that they are available and used.
Still a number of people in the community who did serve on the FORHA board, and they still have very definite memories. Many of the things we did in the early days were very much volunteer efforts, including cleaning off our trails. I remember participating in several that just kind of thinking about it from a risk standpoint, we had a bunch of people coming out with chainsaws, and I'm happy to say everybody came away with all 10 fingers. So that was good. That was a good deal. So, but we had some people who were quite adept at doing that kind of work, and we did a lot of things with volunteer effort in the early days. As we've kind of grown, we've really ended up doing a little more work with paid professionals to do that kind of stuff, which is probably safer.
We always say that we live in a great community, and we want to maintain that, right? If there's areas of opportunity for us to improve, that's definitely what we want to do. Also fiscally, we want to make sure we're utilizing the dues, the monies of our community properly. So we're always looking to ensure and looking at what we currently have to make better, and then what new activities can we bring. And one of the main things is creating activities that bring our neighbors out, enjoy the community. That is a huge piece. And also the trails in and around FORHA. That is a huge responsibility that FORHA currently has, and that a huge amount of our finances go towards maintaining and even expanding the trails. We couldn't do it without our administrative team here in this office. Shelley and Jessica and Mark have really been the foundation for the community, to be able to turn to someone and hear a real person on the other side of the phone and really listen to the concerns. So that is another responsibility as a president, that I make sure that our team here in the administrative office has what they need to be successful.
I like the naturalness of Fair Oaks that you don't see, and especially with our lots as big as we have. But even the smaller ones, I think, really add to the natural vision of having Fair Oaks. Maintain that. I love that part of just to be able to get out and to go across to the park and catch tadpoles in the creek, and the kids being able to play like that is not in any other subdivision that I've seen around here. So I really love the naturalness of that.
The trails give a lot of opportunity for quiet reflection and kind of see nature on its own terms, you know, because they're very natural, a lot of our backcountry trails. Based upon the many places my husband and I have lived, the places we've lived that have homeowners associations that run the parks have the better parks. You know, because the people who are involved know.
Yeah.
It's not some
They're
staffer
aware.
who's driving in from San Antonio who's making decisions that don't impact them.
Yeah.
I think that if you can keep local decision making with the people who are actually using it, the demographic, you know, that needs it, you can adjust more easily to the needs. I think you don't have as many restrictions, you know, and it just has more of a community feel to it. I mean, I go to the parks in Bernie. Obviously, I worked at City Nature Park in Bernie, and it didn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same.
It does.
But boy, the year that we built it, it was one of these super hot summers, and I was out there all day long in that heat, boy. And we had a bulldozer that was cutting its way through so that we could have the ability to move cars and everything through there. And that was the last construction we did of that area. And I was amazed because I retired from FORHA just afterwards, and FORHA decided to name it the John Weir Trail.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, does that mean that I'm about to depart the earth? Because most people don't get trails or things named after them unless they've passed away.
So I think as FORHA, our board, it's important that we listen and we grow the community responsibly. Actually listen to the community, because it's not only for us, for the present community, but I know my wife and I have always wanted to move here initially for the children, right? For our kids. We have 3 kids, thank God, and they love the community that we've been able to have here. And I mean, they've had conversations of moving back to Fair Oaks Ranch because they've had such a great experience also. And that's the thing we want to continue to do, is just make people stay.
Make it generational.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're seeing that.
At the time I was president, FORHA was slightly different. we did in fact start doing the cleaning of the highway, yes, and that really helped a lot because people were just dumping stuff on the side of the road there, and so we would go out and clean the highway all the way down to the army base down there. Yeah, and that was fun. People would all gather here, and we'd all go out and do that job, and it was enjoyable. That was something that was totally new, hadn't been done before.
That's a tradition that you started that's continued.
Yeah, it continued.
Yeah, we still do
and
it.
I think they're still doing
Yes.
that. Yeah.
I'll tell you, over the 6 years that I've been involved, I'm glad I took the time to say, okay, I'm going to do this, because like I've always said, it benefits my wife and my family and my neighbors immediately, but long term, we're leaving a legacy with the board, right? And I think if we could be a piece of that puzzle to make the city better, I'm excited about that. And I try to encourage my children to, if there's something that people are inviting you to and your first instinct is, I don't know if I want to do that, that's fine, that's normal, you're human. But after that, say, okay, I'm going to go, I'm going to give it a shot. Just get involved, because here you see an immediate impact of when you volunteer, how it helps the community.
Really nice. Well, you think back then, everybody had to volunteer for something. And it's just like now, you come to a community, i.e. you volunteer, you should volunteer. You're here as a citizen and part of the community. So we had to do that in Raintree Woods, but at the same time, Raintree Woods was under the umbrella of Fair Oaks Ranch Homeowners Association.
Our city historian was a volunteer. Norman Vestal, which Norman Vestal Park is named after, was a volunteer. He did the beautification of the City Hall complex here. And through his expertise, he helped with the parkway.
Wow.
And so Norman Vestal was a volunteer.
Wow. And who was mayor?
The mayor was Boots Gobbets, our first mayor, who was there for 25 years.
So one of the great ways we currently collaborate with the city is we have a community communication committee. So all of the activities that has grown month after month now it's a way of getting our neighbors out. Well, one of the ways that we can expand is to collaborate with the city. So any way that we can share with them what we're trying to do with the neighbors to get certain activities laid out for our neighbors, the city gets involved to a certain degree also, and makes sure that our reach out to the community is much larger. So then now it's not just a kind of a FORHA activity, but it's more of a city of Fair Oaks. And we have, as a group, the board has a great relationship right now with Mayor Maxton. Greg's actually my neighbor where we live. So he's been a fantastic piece within Fair Oaks Ranch, right? When we came on here, our office was one person, one admin person. And we heard that from the community that we needed more support, and now we have a staff of 3. And in this new age in business, to where a lot of it is social media, a lot of it is AI, and you're like, did I just speak to someone, or was that not a real person? The positive feedback that we've received, because when you actually call here and someone picks up the phone and answers and listens to their concern, has made a world of difference, and really is why I think our community just continues to get better, is because we feel like neighbors. And I think the administrative team here in our office just continues to enrich Fair Oaks Ranch Homeowners Association.
The uniqueness of Fair Oaks having a homeowners association that was citywide. I came from big cities where each subdivision had their own HOA.
Yeah.
I had never heard of a citywide. So
Yeah.
I thought that was very unique, but having then started to work with FORHA a little bit. I never worked for FORHA, but I worked with them on a variety of projects. I learned what that meant, and I thought, well, this is great because the government actually runs the land portion. And then FORHA handled the deeds and restrictions of what goes on that land. And then I found we didn't have any parks in Fair Oaks Ranch because Fair Oaks the government is land poor. We don't have a lot of land.
Yeah.
But FORHA has a lot of parks and trails, which is what a lot of our residents enjoy. So I thought it was very unique that there was a citywide, and it still exists today.
Well, the parks for one thing, we've got the park right across the street. And it was a park at that time, but it wasn't used much. But now, oh my gosh, it's wonderful to go by and see the kids all out playing and the mothers out there chit-chatting, and Bob and Ellen love it because they're right across the street so they can watch all the activity. So that's probably one of the best things from where I sit.
The change from the retirement community to the kids. Ralph Fair donated the land over for our first elementary school. I was on the school board there in Bernie, and the ranchers wouldn't sell us any land, and we were trying to find a spot in the southern part of our school district because that's where the growth was coming. Mm-hmm. And Ralph Fair donated the land, and that's why we built the school here. And now we have 2 elementary schools, so it's totally changed the dynamics of the people living
of the
here.
Community.
Yes, mm-hmm. I think that's the biggest change.
We have 4 children, and when we built our home, our oldest was in 6th grade or going into 6th grade, so she started at Fair Oaks Ranch Elementary, and then our second was, I think, going into 1st because they're like 5 years apart, and then both of our sons, 2 older daughters, 2 younger sons, both the sons went through all of their school years here.
The downside was when our daughter was born, there were no children back here, and she was all by herself.
Yeah.
Oh, she was so desperate to have a playmate.
They built this elementary here, this Fair Oaks Ranch Elementary. That year they built it, that she went into kindergarten.
Oh, she just loved the fact there were other children she could play with.
So we saw a major shift, I would say around 2010, 15, where it became more young professionals as well as families moving in.
Yeah.
And you could see it in the census. The retirees went from like 90% down to 70, down to 30 or 40.
Yeah, that was the thing. In 1984, when we bought our property out here, there were about 1,500 people. And by 1988, we had grown when we built the house to about 1,800. And then in 1990, our daughter Lori was born. And Boots and the city council by proclamation made her the 2,000th resident. I'll always remember when the city council chambers, and Boots got down on his knees and kissed her feet when she was in her bassinet. And he presented us with this brass plaque, Fair Oaks Ranch 2,000th resident.
We were in the San Antonio paper.
Oh, the San Antonio Light paper, which doesn't exist anymore. It was a big deal. But see, Boots wanted the publicity too to get people to come out here. He wanted to build a family community, not this old folks home kind of a thing, which we totally agreed with.
The sense of community, I think, is almost the same. I think it was a little bit tighter when we were smaller, but I think it's still, still there for sure. The demographics, I definitely have seen the demographics change because when we were here, there weren't as many young families, and it was a much more older demographic. But now, I'm approaching those older demographics, and there's a lot more young families.
Now, I'll say one thing. My hat's off to the people, the volunteers who created our city. If you've ever read the book Vision to Reality by Gary Youngblood, it is quite a story about how we grew as a city. And my hat's off to all those people because they did something that no one thought was possible to do. in building a city like this and actually getting it incorporated and growing it and having it turn out as nice as it did. Fair Oaks Ranch really was very much a little secret off of Interstate 10 for many, many years. And a lot of us thought, well, that's okay.
Going to be involved in activities and run is to read the book, Gary's book, that's a super summary of the atmosphere that it took to develop the city and just the background of the city back then. So that was money well spent when we asked him to do that, or he actually volunteered to do it, and then we got it going.
You know, we were talking a little bit about the history of Fair Oaks Ranch, and one of the things you mentioned, a lot of the challenges that we went through. And even if you go all the way back to Ralph Fair and, you know, coming in here and putting a 5,000 acre ranch in this area, you know, how did all that happen and how it all came together? And if you look at each of the steps, I mean, I'm sure it's been talked about that, you know, the challenge was almost being annexed by the city of San Antonio, but that we'd already submitted the paperwork to annex and become a city ourselves. But at that time, we couldn't annex, or we couldn't become an entire city, and we had to.
2 cities.
Yeah, we became Fair Oaks Ranch North and Fair Oaks Ranch South, and you just go. People are amazed at that.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with this book?
I am, sir, and I've read it several times.
Yes, it's beautiful. He did a lot of research, and it's beautifully put together.
More to the point, the people out here welcoming us, knowing that we couldn't afford this. We had nothing going for us. They were so beautiful. You know, these people were so supportive, so helpful. You want to help people like that. You know, these are people that, you know, they deserve something like this. And if I can do something for them because they're offering to do a lot for us and they don't even know us. I would drive down the street, people I don't know, they're smiling and they're waving, they're coming by bringing us food, they're offering to help. I mean, that's a special kind of person that a group of people that today you don't see.
Yeah, I mean, it was all the neighbors very supportive. Everybody knew my kids, you know, they were out running around or whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody knew.
Hey, Donna.
What was tricky is because of the spread, our oldest and youngest are 10 years apart, 12 years apart. So I had 2 in elementary, 1 in middle, 1 in high school. So they were, you know, I was like bouncing around a lot. But no, it was a great place for them to grow up. I mean, even now, my kiddos reflect on it. They were always engaged with me with the things that I did in the community. The homeowners association, of course. We used to do the cleanup
Adopt a
highway. That was a big thing when the kids were younger. Well, not just the Adopt a Highway. We would do it. We would go on the Cibolo Creek and just pick up trash, you know, just as a family.
On the trails. Yeah.
My youngest son, Simon, frequently liked to go to city council meetings and make his views known. And many of the older council members remind me of his visits to city council.
As a matter of fact, a lot of people who moved out to the ranch, I initially met them at UDS when we merged and told them what a wonderful community we had. And I think about 5 people. I was the initial contact, you know, just coming in and introducing themselves, and we're looking for a home. Where do you live? Yeah. And I was never sorry for the recommendation. I was walking, talking testimonial.
We were not a big community. I think back in 1998, we were roughly 1,800, I think, from the census. Today's perspective, we're 10,000.
It's like an explosion over 2 decades.
The changes are immense. When we first moved here, we moved here in 2000. And I'm a working musician, and I would do gigs in San Antonio. Once I hit 1604, there was not a car on the road. This would be after midnight now, going home. Not a car on the road. There was nothing beyond 1604. But today, I mean, but still, no matter what, once you pull into Fair Oaks Ranch, I go, I'm home.
But the people welcomed us with open arms. When Boots introduced me to the Fair Oaks Ranch Homeowners Association, this is Dave Delarenko, him and his wife are going to be building out here. You know, everybody came up, congratulated. They gave me a standing ovation, actually, and they came up and congratulated me, and you know, they welcomed us. And when we were clearing our land, they would come by, they would bring us food, they would offer to help.
Mm-hmm.
One man owned a construction company. He says, "Let me just come out here and do this for you. I won't even charge you. I'll just take care of it for you." I told him, no, I'm taking certain pride in doing for myself, kind of thing. But everybody was so helpful. Even every Easter we would have on our little property what we called an Easter Fest.
Yeah.
We would invite everybody over. We'd have
Barbecue and
barbecue. We'd have an Easter egg hunt for the kids and whatnot, and people could see what we were doing. We weren't doing anything clandestine. You know, we were trying to make this a better place. And after we built the home and the city incorporated, Boots liked the idea. So what he did was he asked me, can I, you know, make this a city event? We'll have it at one, I think, Vestal Park, and we'll have an annual Fair Oaks Ranch picnic.
We were in our early 30s when we bought. Our son was probably 10 years old, and Nick Lewandowski showed us the property, and our son had jumped out of the car immediately and went bouncing around the property and came back and says, "Mom, we found a cave over here." Nick looked at me and he says, "I'll swear, Mary, I had no idea that cave was there." And he took us and showed it to us. It's in the middle of our property. You have to come see it if you want. It's big. You can drive a truck into it.
I like what Cheryl says too. There were 35 homes when you moved
About
here
35 when
in
we
Raintree
came
Woods,
in.
and now I think there are 282.
Wow. What? And that's just in Raintree Woods.
Raintree Woods.
Just for us.
Oh my goodness.
And a lot of them have big spaces.
We knew everybody out here. We knew everybody in Bernie, and it was such a small area at that time. And we had some huge winter parties in our backyard, and everybody around the neighborhood would come and to meet everybody else. And it was some good times back then. Everybody just helped one another when you needed it. You just did what you had to do.
Yeah.
And we didn't have, you know, police out here. We had a game warden. He was basically our cop. When we needed someone, we called him. And
do you remember his name?
What was
Trigger
his name?
Eddie? Was it Trigger Eddie?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
He used to live in this house.
Yeah.
We called him Trigger Eddie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he would bring my son home many a night. Here's what he was doing. And I said, "Okay, you sit down," and then Eddie would give him a talking to, scare him, I hope. I went back to my broker after we made the purchase out here. She came out shortly after me, and she says, "That's a miracle out there." She said, "That place is gonna go." Her name was Elaine Ludwig. She's a very prominent Century 21 realtor, and she was enamored with it. So
That's what I think is so unique. It was a home, a ranch, and there wasn't anything fakey about it.
You know, as the mayor now, you know, people ask me about, you know, what makes this such a special place to live in. And I think there's two areas that really bring this all together. And one is the character of what you see around the community, the oak trees, the wildlife, all that make up our city and the day-to-day of what you drive around and you see. And definitely there's a uniqueness to it. I mean, having a semi-rural portion to our city, you can't find that anywhere else. And so it really attracts people. But the big part of it, I really think, is the people. The people that move here and what they bring to this community. Just an openness, friendliness, a willingness. What would I tell a new resident or somebody that was looking at our community? And a lot of it I've already touched on. You know, one, it's the people. Next, it's the character. And it provides a quality environment that anybody would want to live here.
Learn your history, learn how we got here, and be kinder to your fellow neighbors, your friends. Try and respect what's been done for you and learn it and carry it on. Appreciate the legacy that you've been blessed with out here, because every day it gets rarer and rarer in this world to see that. And you may not recognize it now, but trust me, when you get older, my age, you're gonna appreciate it a whole lot more for what you had. You may not appreciate it now, but you're going to appreciate it later, like I do with my parents and their generation. You know, I didn't know how blessed I was until I was older and started building a life for myself. So I want to tell them now, treasure this time that you've got now and honor the people who came before you. Know who they are and try and carry that legacy forward for your children and their children.
And to volunteer. I used to volunteer at the wherever I could.
The interesting thing, the way the community grew, was that they started off with the notion they wanted to have a lot of different kinds of property here, and they started with the bigger lots where people could have, I think we just kind of generally describe them as ranchettes back in the old day. And people that had horses would get a 10 or 15 acre piece of property. They could have a horse there and a barn and all that. And then gradually over the years we grew, and as we built a couple of golf courses, then you had a lot of golf lots. And there were some people that also wanted smaller homes, so we have some garden home communities here. That was really one of the big drivers for Dee Dee and me when we decided to build. We knew we wanted to build a typical hill country style home that was probably going to be big enough that if we had friends that wanted to come visit for a while, they could stay there and nobody would be crowded. So we did that, but one of the real drivers for us was seeing the communities like Cibolo Trails that had some really nice garden home lots. And we said sooner or later we're going to get old enough, the big house is going to be too much trouble to take care of, and that'll give us a place to go when we get to that point where we can matriculate.
The streets, Battle and Tents is named after, you have to remember we were a cattle ranch. We were a Hereford cattle ranch. And one of the breeding bulls was named Battle and Tents.
Oh, I love it.
And so that was something that the developers drew from and became a successful kind of iconic thing about Fair Oaks, because now we have a golf tournament and people always comment, Battle and Tents, that's such an interesting name. But that's where it comes from. It comes from a breeding bull, a breeding Hereford bull. The racehorse names and the racetrack names, because I live on Keeneland and that's actually the name of a racetrack, I think was a creative use of also the history of Fair Oaks Ranch, because before we were a Hereford ranch, Senior, Ralphie Fair Senior, was thinking of going into racehorse, breeding, and I think they were thinking about putting a racetrack out here at one time later on when we were developing. That didn't go, but what did go is naming streets like Man o' War after racehorses, and I think those are neat, unique, fun names that is part of what we're known for.
Our horses were just amazed. They had been hauled by truck from California, and they were really glad when they saw Cheryl's property. They saw this big place that they were going to be in. And I remember my horse. I backed her out of the trailer. She kicked herself up in the air for her back feet and clicked her heels. She was so happy. Anyway, we've been here. I built a house in 2000 on the property, and we moved in at that time, about 2001.
I think it's one of those things when the new residents I think they've come here already for a reason, right? They either want to have a nice, quiet home out in the hill country, or they want to raise their family here, or both.
Or play golf.
Or play.
Yeah.
That's icing. That's right. So my family is a big tennis family. So we play a lot of tennis. We're picking up golf. So that's a great way to get out and have that available to us. But I think it's Fair Oaks Ranch is the definition of home. And I think that's what I would convey to our new our new neighbors, the new community that's coming, is that it's home. I mean, you have great neighbors. To your point, there's great activities that you can do outside, like golf, like tennis. The trails here are fantastic. The streets around our neighborhoods are great just to go walking every day. And we see that here all the time. My wife and I included, and my children are always going for walks in our neighborhood, and it's fantastic. It's really great here in Fair Oaks.
And this is a good place to have your family and do what you have to do.
Today, peaceful. This is so peaceful. I mean, if you have a job and you're stressed all day long, you can come home and just.
Yeah, like we said, how you pull in and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm home.
Yeah, I pull down the Fair Oaks Parkway and I'm home. It just.
Well, I think it's a good decision. I think that you'll find other young families. If you're a young family, you'll find other young families. If you're retiring, you'll find many retired couples and lots of things to do. In addition, you get to have space. You get to be away from the lights of the city and the noise of the traffic and the bustle. I like the fact that you can still go to the country club and sit out on the porch and watch people hit balls and just feel like you're so free. There's no noise. There's just children running around. It's sort of an Eden in the sense that it's such a likable environment.
And I love to see the younger people coming in, especially because it keeps growth and the vitality. If you're just a bunch of old retired people, it's, you know, I like the new growth. And I think it's good for the city.
But people don't seem to want it. Like if they want to move, they want to move somewhere else within Fair Oaks Ranch. They don't want to move out of Fair Oaks
That's
Ranch.
crazy to me. That's crazy wonderful is what it is. That I think I know somebody that's moved 5 times within Fair Oaks Ranch.
Yeah.
And that says a lot to me.
It does.
They don't want to leave. And they could, but they don't.
I think that it's a quiet city, beautiful homes, neighborhoods. I think a critical item is the safety. I've always supported the police department massively over the years. They ended up giving me an honorary police thing when I left. But the safety and the EMS and the fire are so important to the city. And if somebody has an issue, and I've seen it several times, at their house or something happens to somebody, that you suddenly have a lot of people involved with the act. My sister-in-law had one, and that and other people I know, that suddenly you've got a lot of people involved helping, and you can't put a price tag on that, and I don't think people realize that. They may criticize various things and stuff about all that and costs and things, but until that happens to you or to a neighbor, it's priceless support.
This was the most wonderful community. We had a lot of beautiful terrain, beautiful homes. There was a community subdivision to meet everyone's desires, and we had cohesiveness and esprit de corps. You can see that at FORHA's get-togethers for their events for the children or Christmas time. There are a lot of people who are really participating.
I think it has to do with the way the city's laid out, the atmosphere. The oak trees were at the base of the hill country, so you're getting those nice trees. You have cooler temperatures than you do in San Antonio.
Yeah.
You are close to the hill country entertainment. If you want to go visit Fredericksburg or Kerrville or Bernie, they're just right there. And that's a lot of fun.
Well, people who have chosen to be here, if they move, they're just moving to another part of the ranch. No one leaves. If I move,
Yeah.
it's going to be to a smaller place.
Yes. I am very happy here. I've been very happy here, and I'm not leaving either.
We're still so happy to be here. We feel blessed to be here. And I know that the majority of people out here feel the same way. And anything we can do to help that and to perpetuate that, I mean, we're more than willing to do so.
And then you add in the safety that we have, you add in the school district, a great country club atmosphere that's positioned right in the center of the city, golf cart accessible, really supports what we want for our families, just a great community overall. And I really believe that if you reach out, it won't take long to get you incorporated with other people like-minded to understand what it is that you have here. And then you add in the magnificent oak trees that really make up why our name is Fair Oaks Ranch across our city that have been here for hundreds of years. After living here a short time, I think you'll be of the same mind I was, that why would I want to live anywhere else?